Science Final Study Guide. Cytokinesis is the division of cytoplasm. Chromatid are joined strands of duplicated genetic material. Chromosomes are rod-shaped structures that form when a single DNA molecule and its associated proteins coil tightly before cell division. A diploid is a cell that contains two homologues of each chromosome. A haploid is a sperm or egg cell. Mutations are changes in an organism's genetic material. A zygote is a fertilized egg cell, the first cell of a new individual. When the arms of two homologous chromosomes exchange segments of DNA, crossing over is said to have occurred. The two main parts of a chromosome are the centromere and promatid. The condition in which a diploid cell has an extra chromosome is called trisomy, while the condition in diploid cell OS missing a chromosome is called monosomy. Crossing over is an efficient way to produce variation, the formation of new genetic combinations. Deviations in chromosome number can be detected by analyzing the karyotype, which is a collection of chromosomes found in an individual's cells. The two types of sex chromosomes are X and Y. The human body cells are also called somatic. Interphase is the first three phases of mitosis and is 90% of the cycle. This is where the DNA is copied and is split up into G1, S and G2. G1 is the first growth cycle in which rapid growth occurs. S is where protein synthesis happens and the DNA is copied. G2 is the second growth cycle where the cell is prepared for mitosis. Mitosis is the cell reproduction and division of somatic cells. This is where the nucleus divides. Cytokinesis is where the cytoplasm divides. Look at shapes of each part of mitosis. Genetics is the branch of biology that studies heredity. Heredity is the transmission of traits from parent to offspring. Chromosomes are rod-shaped structures that form when a single DNA molecule and its associated proteins coil tightly before cell division. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Gregor Mendel is the father of genetics. Genes are segments of DNA that transmit information from parent to offspring. A mutation is a change in the DNA sequence. Nucleotides are composed of sugar, phosphate and a nitrogen base. Watson and Crick discovered the structure of DNA. It has been discovered that protein are the genetic material, because DNA are more complex than protein. The strands of DNA are held together by a hydrogen bonding of adenine and thymine molecules with cytosine and guanine molecules. In all living things, DNA replication must occur before cell division. Some chromosomes carry multiple copies of the same gene. A gene can affect the phenotype of an individual. Purines and pyrimidines are bases found in DNA. Short strands of DNA are contained in chromosomes inside the nucleolus of a cell. Molecules of DNA are composed of long strands of nucleotides. Ribose is not a part of a molecule of DNA. Chargaff's rules state that adenine and thymine, and guanine and cytosine are base pairs in DNA. Differences between DNA and RNA: RU single, R stands for ribose and U stands for uracil. A monohybrid is a cross that considers one pair of contrasting traits. A phenotype is the physical appearance of a trait. F2 is the offspring of the F1 generation. F1 is the offspring of the P generation. Heterozygous OS when the two alleles of a particular gene are different. The dominant trait is the expressed form of the trait. The recessive trait is that is not expressed when the dominant form of the trait is present. Homozygous is when the two alleles of a particular gene are the same. The P generation is the first two individuals crossed in a breeding experiment. Dihybrid is a cross that considers two pairs of contrasting traits. A genotype is a set of alleles that an individual has. Mutagens are environmental factors that cause mutations. An anticodon is a tRNA nucleotide sequence complementary to mRNA nucleotide sequence. The nucleus is where transcription takes place. The ribosome is where the translation takes place. The three nucleotides on mRNA strand are called codons. Operon controls gene regulation in prokaryotes. Carcinogens are cancer-causing agents such as asbestos and benzene. Gene expression is the two-stage processing of information from DNA to proteins. Cancer is a disease characterized by abnormal cell growth. Translation is where mRNA is used to produce a protein. Transcription is when information in DNA is transferred to mRNA. The three types of RNA are messenger RNA, transfer RNA, and ribosome RNA. When transferring DNA to mRNA, remember that the T's become U's. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. All the major phyla of animals that are present today evolved during the Precambrian era. Record of the first humans appeared in the Cambrian era. The organism responsible for creating breathable oxygen in Earth's early atmosphere was plants. Lerman's theory of how life began is known as the bubble model. Gradualism refers to the theory that evolution occurs only in long periods of time. Within populations, divergence leads to speciation. Variation is caused by the environment. Lack of production can cause competition in a population. The hypothesis that evolution occurs at an irregular rate is known as equilibrium. A change in the frequency of a particular gene in one direction in a population is called balancing selection. Natural selection causes changes in the environment, plants and animals to produce more offspring than can survive, and moths that match the color of tree trunks are more likely to survive. Natural selection is the process by which organisms with traits well suited to the environment survive and reproduce at a greater rate than organisms. The most direct evidence that evolution has occurred comes from fossils. Structures that are present in an organism but are reduced in size and have no function are called vestigial structures. Homologous structures are similar because they are inherited from a common ancestor. Organisms produce more offspring that can survive. A change in species over time is called divergence. The darkening of a population of organisms over time in response to industrial pollution is called industrial melanism, and an example of this is in the species of adaptation. Natural selection that causes the frequency of a particular allele to move in one direction is called direction selection. Some evidences of evolution are fossils, common ancestry, embryonic research, homologous structures, adaptation and natural selection.